I'm Warren Mendes, and today I'm going to be cooking with some beautiful ingredients from the delicious Harvey Norman Produce Awards. I'm going to be taking two of my favorite things, a Jaffle and a rich beef lasagna, and mashing them together to create what I think is the world's best snack. The cheese I'm going to be using are from the delicious Harvey Norman Produce Awards. So I've got Baradoc buffalo mozzarella and also using some organic from That's Amore. You've got to say That's Amore, properly like an Italian. A fry pan onto medium heat, a little bit of olive oil, some onions. And whenever cooking onions, always a pinch of salt just to help leach out that moisture. Decent crack of pepper. So once those onions are nice and soft, we're just going to add our garlic, thyme, and rosemary. In with the garlic and herbs. And we'll cook that for about a minute. You don't want the garlic to burn and get bitter. Okay, so that's smelling beautiful and fragrant. So we can go in with the mince. I've got some beef mince and pork mince combo here. Only using a small amount because obviously the Jaffle isn't going to take a lot of mince in it. Okay, so I've got some color on the mince. Color means flavor. Put some tomato paste, a couple of bay leaves. Okay, then a can of whole tomatoes. And when they get in the pan, just break them up with your spoon. Just looks like Italy, doesn't it? Okay, now finally in with some wine. Remember, only use wine that you'd actually drink, and a little bit of water as well. And so while that mince mixture cooks down, we're just going to start with our cheese sauce. And we're going to start off with some butter melted in the pan. Just going to add equal amount of flour. We're just going to cook that out a little bit until it resembles kind of sand, which I know doesn't sound great for food, but it needs to split outside of itself, and that way you know the flour is starting to cook. And now I've got my milk, and it just in small additions, kind of stirring after each time to make sure we don't get any lumps. Add a bit of the milk, give it a stir, and then eventually, if you want, transfer over to a whisk to make sure you got no lumps. Decent pinch of salt. Gonna get onto the cheese component. So I'm using the That's Amore mozzarella, which is from Victoria. And for a little extra bite, just some Parmesan. Now the measure of a good cheesy sauce is, look how high I can get that cheese. And that is a proper cheesy sauce. Look at that. Okay, so off the heat, and we can soon start some construction. So the mince is beautiful and rich. Taste. It is so good. So we can now get that off the heat and get on to the fun part of assembling those Jaffles. So we've got our cheese sauce, that intense mince mixture, and I'm also going to be using some extra mozzarella. And then, of course, being a lasagna Jaffle, I've got some beautiful cooked lasagna sheets here. We're going double carbs. And then obviously some good old cheap white bread. And then I'm going to be making 4 of these guys in the Sunbeam Big Phil Toasty Sandwich Press, which you can grab at Harvey Norman. I'm going to be mixing a little bit of butter and Parmesan. On the outside, you're going to get this beautiful Parmesan crust. So I've got some soft butter here. Mix that into the Parmesan. On 2 of those slices, just brush over that Parmesan butter. Okay, then on with the lasagna sheets. I'm just going to trim them up to match the same size as the bread. In with some of that mince, spread that out. And with another sheet of lasagna. And then just with some of the cheese sauce as well. Scrape a bit of it, still nice and cheesy. And so for some extra creaminess and cheesiness, I'm using the buffalo mozzarella from Baradoc. And they're in the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Breaks apart and it's so creamy. Couple of pieces. Piece for me as well. A little bit of cracked pepper. This needs some more pasta. It needs another sheet of lasagna. I want 3 layers in there. And now I can continue making the rest of them. Okay, so that's the fun time now. I'm going to get to make the Jaffles. Preheated the sandwich press. We're going to go in with all 4 of these guys. Close it, and now a game of patience until we can get these beautiful golden Jaffles. Okay, it's time. And these guys look pretty good. And you can see some of them spilling out, and that's absolutely fine. You've got proper crunch on the outside. You can see all that Parmesan, listen here. And if you look at those layers, you've got beautiful cheese oozing out. Cheers. Burning my mouth, God. That awesomely rich minced mixture, the creaminess from both of those mozzarellas, promise you it's entirely worth it. And then that crispy, crispy bread, lasagna in it, double carb up. This is a properly good recipe. So if you like this recipe and more on the delicious Harvey Norman Produce Awards, head to delicious.com.au.